All right, welcome to YouTube therapy sessions for Ryan. And I know it's an interesting start to this, but I basically just want to start making videos where I just talk. And I call them YouTube therapy because, well, quite frankly, I've had a therapist many times in the past, and she charges like $150, $200 an hour, and it gets really expensive. So these are just going to be thoughts that I have that I don't want to edit these videos. I don't want, if they get views, cool. If they don't, awesome. I'm sure they'll help somebody do something. But today I want to talk about content, specifically like video editing and where content is going and problems that I see happening. And I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to talk about these things because I currently run an agency. It's called Viral Edits. We work with, like 20 clients, some of the largest influencers in the world. We produce anywhere from 3,500 to 4,000 videos a month are being posted to the platforms. And I see a lot of data and I see a lot of problems that other people don't see. I've also generated a large amount of money, and I have a big team. I currently have about 14 people that work for me in the United States and about 10 to 15 that work overseas or VAs. And yeah, our sole job is helping people go viral and get as many views as possible. My job isn't really to help people get, monetize those views. And that's kind of where a lot of the problems arise that we see. And I see it from small content creators to big content creators to even myself. And I also personally get, on all the platforms, I've gotten over 100 million views. I think YouTube, I'm almost there. And all this from short form. Long form has never really been a strength of mine. Although I have made videos that got millions of views on YouTube. Long form, they were when I was teaching guys how to dress better to get laid, like 8 to 9 years ago, which all those videos are still there. Feel free to search them. But let's talk about video editing right now. And video editing right now, shout out Big Daddy Wellness, hilarious account. Video editing right now, I think, is in a weird place. And I think video editing is kind of ruining content in a way because it's also made content great. So don't all video editors. I run primarily a video editing company. So like I'm talking about myself here. But the focus on video editing is creating a problem for a lot of content creators, especially people like myself, your larger brands, your bigger people, because they need more content more frequently, faster, and fancy edits and a lot of the things that are being used to help people stay more engaged are becoming less and less effective. And if people are not realizing that too, that's the topic for a whole nother video. Authentic content has returned. Like just sitting and speaking and talking is a thing. And it was like this in like 2006, 2008 on YouTube when people started. Like content is kind of cyclical right now, and it's coming back to just sitting here talking to cameras. People are burned out of all the edits and the flashiness, but also there still is a need for the production aspect of content. And for personal brands and business owners, I think that's putting them into a very tough space that they're not realizing they're even in yet, because content is free. Like it's freely distributed. It's pushed, like people consume things like you have, it's revolutionized Hollywood. It's revolutionized Netflix, like all these companies that are just machines for content. Yes, you pay like $14.95 to go to join Netflix, but it costs so much money to produce that said content. And that's the other problem. The production of content is expensive, and yes, AI and, outsourced video editors, while they are great, they're not there yet. Like AI specifically, it's coming, it's doing good. It's got some cool stuff, but it's also forcing people to regurgitate the same things over and over and over again. It's a constant thievery of ideas and concepts, and that's cool because that's creativity is inspiration from other things. But I think AI and things are amplifying this effect. But for business owners and personal brands specifically, you're in this unique point where you need to produce content at scale because you need ad creatives, you need organic social media presence, and you're trying to produce it at scale, and most people are using agency services or lower tiered AI. on the off chance that you are slightly more successful in your business or you take it more seriously, you probably have an in-house editor, but you also realize you need an in-house editor and you also need a creative director or some sort of director to help you like generate ideas. And then there's all these businesses that are built around these individual aspects of these things. When in reality, the success of videos comes down to the content creators. You know, the more you speak well on camera, the less you need to edit. And something that I'm seeing is it's way more important to just get things out. And most business owners, personal brands specifically, are their own bottlenecks, and myself included, because you know, even this video, the thought of not editing it at all is a mental block. Just putting this on YouTube and hoping that it does something, you know, even without posting something and me not hoping it gets views is defeating in itself, you know, because if you make something, you put effort into something, you put it out there and it shits the bed, well, that kind of sucks. That's defeating. You know, I've done that thousands of times in the past. I still do it every day, you know, but the fix to that is to keep posting, keep making videos, keep pushing yourself to make videos. And then that's where kind of the problem is, because I think we're in this sort of shift right now where the need for content is really high and the price when people pay for content is really low, and somewhere in the middle is a bubble. And you know, one of my favorite movies is the movie Big Short, and this is kind of like the 2008 financial crash, where you had everyone needed and was buying more houses because the price of houses was so low back then, and interest rates were so low. But then the bubble bursted. You know, it popped. The bubble went, and I kind of see that happening to business owners. And, you know, reason being is when you actually start producing content, and again, like my agency, we charge anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a month for our services, which is on the very high premium end. And I could probably charge more, but that's a whole nother thing when you start dealing with those types of expectations from content creators and businesses. But that's probably a talk for another day. You know, but with content specifically, the need for videos is huge. And people are sending off their content to agencies, and agency owners are then taking that money, and most of them are then outsourcing that money overseas. And then those videos come back, and then those get posted, and those do really bad. You know, on the off chance, you know, a clock's right twice a day, no matter what. Certain videos may or may not hit, but they were probably going to hit anyways, regardless of if they were edited, because it was a good topic and the speaker spoke it well. So like you know, you're also rewarded on these platforms because, you know, and in my case, like the more aggressive I am, the more I ask obnoxious questions, the more I push people to share things, the more authentic and transparent that I get other people to be, and I am myself, it breeds a lot of trust. And it generally gets a lot of views because, you know, so a friend of mine asked me the other night, you know, he's like, a lot of your content, like some of the best content out there right now is very wholesome. And I was like, well, I'm not that wholesome. Like, at least not on video. I'm aggressive. And I've become aggressive because that's just I'm 42 years old, and my whole life I've had to fight for certain things. Like I've had to fight to make it as a professional BMX racer, even though I wasn't the greatest BMX racer. I was just, you know, better than average. And being an amateur didn't make sense. And I was like, let's try this pro thing. But I ultimately wasn't that good. So I aggressively forced myself to get better. And that led me to making videos, because what I was really good at while I was racing BMX was making videos about me racing BMX. And then that led me to teaching BMXers and the whole, you know, and then I aggressively entered a market of BMX racers, and I created a DVD with my dad, and I was selling it, and I was aggressively forcing this onto the market. But quite frankly, at the time, the market wasn't ready for that. Like, and then I was also aggressive in the market because I was, you know, getting attention because I was giving things away for free, which made a lot of people mad, you know. And this led into affiliate marketing, which I was very, very aggressive. And, you know, that turned into me making a men's style and fashion YouTube channel, which I was rewarded the more aggressive I talked, because the more obnoxious the titles got, the more I got views on those videos. And then I was starting to be financially rewarded because I would get brand deals and certain things and make money from that. So I was incentivized even more. And then when short form came along, we made the videos incredibly aggressive, you know, with subtitles. Like, my agency, for those that don't know, we were the first people to start putting the red, green, and yellow and basically subtitles on videos. And they were an inspiration and stolen from Gary Vee, who was doing it like the progress bar stuff prior back then. And ultimately, the product that I am today on social media, and I see a lot of business owners are probably going to get into this, is the product of like, capitalizing on and continuing to do the things that work. And that's what makes people successful. But in content specifically, you're just continually, especially now, like the flashier cars, the bigger, the wads of cash, the building in public. It's all very aggressive, and it creates problems that most people don't see until later on down the line, and specifically with content, because you're constantly having to film all the time, whether you want to or not. And even when you're not filming, you're thinking about filming, and then you need to get it edited. So even if you film it, it doesn't even get put out. And there's so much footage that goes to die in Google Drive. I mean, Google's gotten rich, I'm sure, because people can't get their content out fast enough. And, that leads us to like kind of where I see the industry right now of you need to put out more content faster. But in order to do that and not spend, the average personal brand or business owner needs to spend about 10, maybe 15 grand a month on content to do it right. And you have people like the Gary V's, the Hermosis, like, Dan Martell, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on their media. And they can do that, excuse me, they can do that because they have millions of dollars that they've made in other places to make that happen. And I find myself working with businesses that are doing anywhere from, the $6K a month people are averaging between $50,000 to $75,000 a month. They can comfortably pay me and my agency $6K a month. The $10K a month clients, I've sold things up to $30K before. Those are really well-established businesses, and they have the monetization aspect down. And, so I see regular business owners and people that want to use us to help them and to help them make content. But I find myself saying no a lot because the cost it costs me to produce the content for them, and then the creativity cost. We call it a creativity tax. The more people you help make content, the more creatively drained you get. And then couple that with, you're making content. Now you have like a double creativity like burnout. And then you have editors that are getting burned out. And like I'm seeing, and again, you're rewarded by volume. The more you put out, the better it is. Like I've never been a believer in like, let's just post, 2 to 3 videos a week. Like that's not going to get you anywhere. I'm posting in the last month, we've gotten like 12 million views on my Instagram account using trial reels. We're posting like 10, 15, 20 times a day on that. Like those aren't new videos we're reposting, but that's effective for a certain amount of time. And trial reels are very effective, by the way. But the point being is it's volume. So, the problem I see people facing is to be able to put out the volume you need. Most businesses aren't even set up to be able to afford it. And then the answer to them is, to pay an agency like, my light just went out. That means the battery died. To pay an agency a few $1,000s a month, and then they get them videos, and then that agency is using AI, and then the business owner then takes those videos and posts them, or the agency posts them for them, and then it turns into, they're getting more and more out, but it's not good because them as speakers are not that good. So it's a whole nother skill set you have to develop. And then you also have to kind of craft a character or become a person that maybe you aren't, or an enhanced version of yourself, because that's what's rewarded most on the platforms. So I say all this to, and I'm going to kind of wrap my thoughts up, and I hope you guys enjoyed this so far, but I just think we're in a weird place with content, and I think people's videos, I think there's a lot of BS happening, and I think it's compounding faster than anybody can even, comprehend right now, because, you have 20-year-olds giving you life advice. You have 18-year-old high school dropout millionaires. And, my agency's made $4 million, but I don't have that sitting in a bank account, because you're forcing content creators, people that are good at making videos, to now be business owners. And, not everybody's cut out for that, or at least they might for a little bit, but they're probably not going to last long because, again, I've had to learn the aspects of growing a company, and treating myself like I'm this important CEO. and then outsourcing to help other people. And I've just found that the more you pay people, the better help you get. Better talent gets better options. It also allows you to go out and make more and more money. But that my way of going out to get more money is probably very similar to many people, is make more videos. And it's just this constant like cycle that I think everyone's going into. The people that have been creating hundreds of videos or thousands of videos a year compounding, I think they're feeling it. I think it's this unspoken thing that a lot of people are feeling. And it's kind of refreshing that we're going back to the less edited videos, partially because like at the end of the day, if you can speak good, you can get views, you know, but be mindful of how you're speaking, because you're going to be rewarded to be aggressive. And, you know, some people will probably challenge that, and then they'll point to somebody like, you know, a Ryan Trahan, who I'm very inspired by his series and I love his work. Like, it's not cheap to go to 50 states in 50 days. So he's fronting a lot of money that a lot of other people may not have. And I don't think people pay attention to that. And that creates pressures, especially as business owners, to spend and spend and spend money on content that ultimately takes years to return. And I think it's taking longer to make the returns now. And that's another thing. I think selling patterns and selling dynamics. I've been on the internet selling stuff for like 10 years. I started selling BMX training DVDs that I would physically package up myself and then go to the post office and mail them to people. Like, I had a flip cam. Like, I've sold digital products in every which way from Sunday on all different myriads of things. Like, I used to sell like the cheap Viagra through horrible Facebook ads, and then I had multiple Facebook accounts banned. You know, I'm selling live events. We just had an event where 200 people came to it. Like, I've sold things all across the spectrum, but buying patterns are also very different now. And a lot of the hardcore marketers, a lot of people you follow, I don't think they're even realizing the buying patterns are different. You know, all this to say, I don't really know if I even had a point to this video, but I'm going to wrap it up now. So you guys, you know, but if you like this video, drop a comment. If anything stuck out to you, drop a comment. I'll do my best to answer them, but I tend to not read comments because that's a whole nother thing. You know, I guess we can touch on that really quick before I sign off, but comments, the more views you get, the more hate you will get. Happy people don't comment on videos, at least not when those videos are getting millions and millions of views. Because in my world, when you get millions and millions of views, you are triggering at least 50% of the world about something, maybe even 70% of the world about something. And, you know, if you look at any video that goes viral, it's generally not happy comments. And yes, most people don't read the comments, you know, but most everybody also does read the comments. You just, you know, and I don't think people realize when, you know, you can't get 12 million views in a month without getting a lot of hate. And that wears on you because you're also, it's pressures. It doesn't mean anything. Like, it's not like somebody writes a mean comment. Do I get my day? Oh, my day's ruined now. No, but it's just pressures. It's like you're dealing with hate on a video while you also have to make payroll that's in the triple digits a month, or you're dealing with personal problems at home, or you're trying to make a bigger decision, and you have to keep functioning and you have to keep filming videos. So it's a weird world. All that to say, if you guys like this video, subscribe. I don't know how many of these I'm going to do, but I could do them daily. I could do them every other day. I don't know. But this is also my version of a podcast, because I just think there's way too many fucking podcasts out there that don't really do anything. It's just two people talking to each other about nothing. And they would have better luck if they just made a fake podcast, to be honest, because I've even done those. So, yeah. Talk to you guys later. Peace.